Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we have got quite a special car in. The reason I say that is because this is a customer's car, obviously. This customer's been a customer for a very long time. I've looked after numerous vehicles for this customer, many different Mercedes, and he has bought his dream car, his dream Mercedes. So I'm actually really looking forward to getting this done. I have previously done a health check on this car, which we did for him when he was purchasing the car. If you've ever purchased your dream car or a car that you've really wanted, you will know the achievement of doing that and what it feels like. It's a very nice feeling.
Nice! Nice, guys! High five, Dad!
I want to get the car right for him, so that's why I'm looking forward to this one. So let's get the car in the garage and let's show you what he's bought and what we need to do, more importantly. The eagle-eyed viewers will probably already know what this car is, but do you actually know properly what it is? The car's in the garage. As you can now see, W124 Cabriolet. However, it's a special W124 Cabriolet. Before we do that, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a vehicle score check. I'd highly recommend to do this on any vehicle that you're buying because you want to check that the mileage is correct, that there's no hidden salvage history, it's never been stolen, etc, etc. So we've done a vehicle score check. Everything checks out good, which is, it's a great way just to determine you're not buying a lemon before you get there. We do have a discount code with vehicle score. It's SPR20. You'll get 20% off. So I'll leave the link below for our discount code SPR20 on a vehicle score check. Let's get on with it. The reason this E-Class is a special one, which I've keep mentioning but keep forgetting to show you, is because it is a Sportline model. Now the Sportline model comes with firmer and slightly lower suspension, so the shock absorbers and the springs are slightly different. You get the Sportline badges on the wings and you also get a Sportline gear knob. It's got to have a specific code on the data card. Can't remember what it is. I guess I'm going to say 524. That could be completely wrong.
I was way off.
But yeah, this is a proper Sportline. It's all been checked out. This is a genuine E220 Sportline. So get it up. We'll show you what we need to do to get it up to speed. Right, we'll start from the front of the car. Got my report. The first thing we need to change is the fan belt. You can't really see from here, but all the outer edge is fraying. We need to replace a brake fluid, steering damper. When we service these cars, we disconnect the steering damper and have a feel of it. It should be nice and firm like a shock absorber, and it was really weak. So it's a good one to check on service that on these old ones. Just disconnect one end, have a feel of it. Is it doing anything? I'll show you the new one. As you can see, a lot firmer. So that is going to make your steering a lot firmer, a lot more precise. These old cars with a steering box are a bit all over the place anyway. To be honest, I'm one bolt away from changing that, so I may as well just do that now. Very simple to change as well. Simple but painful. That hurt. Literally squashed my thumb. The show goes on. Yeah, so simple part to replace. Couple of hours labour. So as you can see now, I've got to pull that to get that lined up nice and firm. And that is just gonna transform the steering on this car. Give it less drifting all over the road. Oh God, you can tell someone's been in here messing with my stuff. Okay, right. That's a part done already, one job done. Front anti-roll bar bushes. If you look at that bush there, if you look in the top, you can see how much it's sagged. It's a big gap at the top. So what we're going to do there is we're going to take the whole roll bar off. We're just going to do the set of 4. They're probably £5 each. There's 4 of them. It's a good while you're in there just to do the set. Obviously it's only the outers that I've sagged, but go do the set, firm it all right up. So roll bar, belt, brake fluid, steering damper. We have got a bit of a noise when we're driving along. These heat shields have come loose. Somebody's tried to repair it before by the looks of it. To be honest with them, we're just going to chop them off, get rid of them. There's heat shields above the exhaust and there's another heat shield on the chassis here. In my opinion, they're a bit redundant. To be honest, some do have them, some don't. So rather than replace the exhaust with the cat, which is probably £1,500, we're just going to cut those off, get rid of that noise. Moving along to the back of the car, we have a bit of an oil leak going from the differential. You can see there the front seal, it's leaking oil. This side seal is leaking oil. This side is dry. Obviously we've got to take the diff off. It's a good while you're in there to do the 3. We are actually going to remove the diff, drain all the fluid, put new seals in, fresh fluid, and put that back in. I've not done one of them for years. Used to do them all the time. So that'll be a good one, especially for the young lads to see what's going on there. Broken rear spring. You can't really see, but this passenger side rear spring is broken. And amazingly, you can still get Sportline rear springs. I can't get a spring for my CLK 55 AMG, but I can get a spring for an even rarer car, 124 Sportline. We're going to do a pair of rear springs. Oh, we're doing a gearbox service, 4-speed gearbox. We'll get the pan off that, get the fluid drained out of that. The most disappointing part is probably the welding that we need to do. Probably can't see properly with the wheel on, but up behind there's a hole in the wheel arch. There's quite a bit of welding to do on this. I've got to, oh yeah, jog my memory. One here. Oh yeah, I've marked it up. Yeah, it's the same position as the offside. Driver side rear, passenger side rear. The holes in the arch are pretty much the same. So we've got quite a bit of welding to do on this car. Do as best a job we can with that. Obviously I'm not a fabricator / welder. And that's it really. So fair bit of pretty straightforward service work. And then the main concern for me is the welding, because with welding, obviously we showed you the hole, it's a small hole. You've got to cut all the rust out. You could end up with a massive hole. We're going to be careful with that because I don't want to get into body work, I'll say. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a big hole and we can just do some nice neat repairs that you can't really see. Like I say, welding and fabrication isn't my forte at all. So we'll see how we get on with that. Right, we'll just start with the easy stuff, I think. Leave the welding till last. So as you can see now, the bonnet's up. This belt is had better days, so nice and simple. Get the belt off. I'm gonna take the fan off, make my life a bit easier. Could probably do it without, but just give me more room. More room, less stress. So Nathan, who's holding the camera, has just pointed out that could they put a bigger sign on that says ABS? And he said, was that a big thing back in the day? So I said, yeah. I specifically remember this with Vauxhalls, I could be wrong. They would have like, on a Cavalier it would say, obviously it's a Vauxhall, and on one side of the boot lid it would say Cavalier, and on the other side it would say ABS. So everybody would be like, he's got ABS. I'm sure some of them even said like airbag or stuff like that. So the answer to your question, Nathan, was it a big flex? Yes, it was. He was like, ooh, I've got ABS. Mercedes were like the first to do the majority of these things, by the way. ABS, airbags, stuff like that. There you go. So like I was saying, just gives me tons more room, give me a chance to clean out that viscous fan as well. Good little while I'm in there, loads more room, an extra job done. Nice and simple. They were nice engines, these 320s. Sorry, 220s. They were nice little engines. The 320 was a lot smoother and stuff, but for tootling around, these were plenty. They kept this engine for years. They kept this all the way up to like the SLKs and the 202C classes, and they put the superchargers on it. It's a really simple setup on these. That's the tensioner. Ratchet on, pull it over, take your belt off, and that is it. It's a Merc belt, that could be the original belt. You never know, do you? Because this car's only done 100,000 miles, which is not a lot of miles for one of these at all. 30 years old-ish, done 100,000 miles, it's absolutely nothing. My thumb is killing. We'll put the belt on with Mercedes facing us. Job done. Fan coupling all cleaned. Part number facing us. Back up. We'll take the anti-roll bar off, do the roll bar bushes, I think. One roll bar. You can change these outer ones in situ, but the age of these cars now, I'd just take the roll bar off and just do the set of 4. It's just better long term. Nice dollop of red rubber grease. That's one roughly in position. I mean, you can see even just them outer ones how much tighter they are. Right, bar back on, bolt it all up. Job done. So the roll bar's all back on, and there's no, as you can see now, there's no gaps in the roll bar bush. This part, which is obviously in the way for us to drop the arm down to replace the spring, that is the rear roll bar sensor. So if the wheel leaves the ground and that bottoms out, that will activate that lever, which will set the tombstones off in the car so you don't crush your head and die. So first thing we need to do is just make a bit of a note of the position of them, because I'm sure you can adjust them a little bit and then get them off out the way. I've bought a new torch, this Milwaukee magnetic torch on a hinge, specifically designed for the automotive industry apparently. And I bought it because I bought another tool which was like £15, but it was free delivery over £20. So I ended up buying this £130 torch to get
6 quid delivery.
So I got my free. It's good, isn't it? That's what I wanted, but I didn't want to pay like nearly a third of the value of the product for delivery, so I ended up with the torch. Right, that's now exposed the bolt that we need to get out. Take the bolt out, lower the arm down, spring in and out. Job done, but that is now out of the way. We don't want to damage that. There we go. One broken spring. You'd probably never know that was broken. You're probably not going to get, if it had broken further up, it's got a clang, but them bottom tails, you'd probably never know. A lot of people are surprised when we tell them they've got a broken spring. Trying to get these springs off the dealer was a nightmare. I've probably spent more time on the phone trying to get these springs than I have doing the job. It works on, well, it does work on a point system because I've seen it, and basically you add up the points. Has it got, if it was a hardtop, has it got a sunroof? No. This is a cabriolet. Cabriolets have so many points. What engine has it got? So many points. And then you add it all up, and then you reach a total of points, and then that's the spring you get. So that's the spring we've been given for this car. So we've just got the other side spring off camera, and we was talking about the colour codes. So normally when you ring Mercedes, you would give them the colour codes, the chassis number of the car, and you'd match it up, even though these springs do have colour codes. But if you ring them up and give them, they don't mean anything. But just as a confirmation that we have got the right ones, as you can see, we've got 1 white, 3 grey and red, and that's the same on the new ones. I'm going to definitely keep, well, I'm not going to keep, but I'm going to give the customer this spring to keep, because I won't be surprised if one day these aren't available, and that might help someone else out. Right, we're going to do the rear diff now. So as we explained before, we've got the differentials leaking oil from 2 out of the 3 seals. We're going to take the diff out, replace all 3. So we need to unbolt all the half shaft bolts, unbolt the prop shaft coupling. There is a speed sensor in the diff as well. Drain the oil, and then we can start getting it out. So that's everything disconnected, prop shafts, drive shafts, oil's drained, sensors out. So what we've got left to do is just the mountings.
Yeah, 3 of them.
So we've got 2 at the back here, 1, 2, 1 at the front, and that is it. I've not done one of these for years, and I mean like 10 years, maybe 15 years. I'm enjoying it.
Go on, I've got a little bit.
So this diff's not heavy. You could manhandle it out, but it's just easier and safer. That's it, 1 diff. Alright, so just give the diff a good clean. It's going to make it easier for us to work on the manhandling all the leakage and grime that's built up. Clean it now, and then also it's cleaner for when it goes back in the car. We'll get this back plate off, and we'll show you the inside of the diff. That clip there, that's the clip we need to pull out, which will release our half shaft. So obviously the diff is getting a full service, if you like. All new seals, new oil, good stuff. What? I've lost one of these before. Yeah, sorry mate, that's just hit Nathan in the face. So there's the clip anyway. This should just slide out now. It's 1 half shaft. So if you can imagine now, that bolted to the drive shaft, it looks more like a drive shaft. We need to get this seal out. New one to go in. Nathan hates the smell of diff oil. It smells awful. We can't say exactly what it smells like because it's not fit for YouTube. And we're going to use the old seal as like a drift to put the new one in place. It's worth just taking your time with this. It's not something you want to rush because you don't want to hammer it in too far, which I presume you can do. Right, so I've just cleaned up the half shaft. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of rubber grease just on the inside of the seal, because the last thing we want is the initial start off of the car on a dry seal, on a dry drive shaft, and also when we insert it we don't want to nick it, otherwise we'll have a leak and we'll be doing it all again. Bit of grease on that. Pin back in. Should have demonstrated on the other side, it's easier. There you go. there you go. So I'm just going to turn the drive shafts around, the diff, sorry, and double check that I'm happy with the position of the pins, because the last thing we want is one of them to come out. Need to clean up the surface of the back plate, bit of sealant, put that back on, and then we can concentrate on the front. This is a special tool from Snap-on, and it's for cleaning aluminium surfaces like this. It has a, what did he say it was on the end? It's got a special piece of metal on the end. That's for that scrapes off without damaging the surface. Back cover all clean, nice clean surface now. Let me show that on camera. Somebody will say too much, either too much sealant or too little sealant. You got all this diff, Dan? 50 Newton meter torque setting. We borrowed one of the lads from the Volkswagen specialist to help us do it next door. Cheers, Dan. Let you know when it's on the internet, mate. Dan's a keen viewer of ours. Oh, he's got his hoodie on as well. Oh, you should have got your jacket off while we did it. Right, so left to do, we've got to take this front flange off. Right, so I've got the pulling tool set up. I've got to press off this flange to gain access to the seal. This can produce like 10 ton this or something, and usually you wind it and it just goes bang. There you go. See it jump then? Little love tap made it jump a bit more. All that to gain access to that. So this new seal is slightly modified. It has a shoulder on it, so you can't fit it too far, whereas this seal was actually countersunk a little bit. Okay, that's one seal in. So I'm just having a feel as well. You can see that ring, that's where the seal has been wearing away at the metal. You can feel that sometimes, and it's quite a deep groove. If it is, you'll still have a leak. You need to replace that as well. Let's get all that rust off so it'll go on a bit easier. And as you can see, that goes back on a lot easier than it came off. I wasn't hitting that hard at all. Put the old nut on, and the reason for that is we've got a marking of where it was last time. So this time we're going to put it exactly back where it was, but you get another go on the nut, but pin it over the other side, and that way we know it's torqued exactly where it was before, even though officially we're not torquing it.
You're a very bad man.
And you can see that that's exactly where it was before, so I'm going to knock that back in, and then the opposite side we've got another go. And that is one diff complete. All we've got to do now is get it back in the car, but for now we're going to tidy up. We'll see you tomorrow.
The next day.
Right, so the diff's back in place, all torqued in. Now I need to put the drive shafts back in, prop shaft back in. We'll put fresh Loctite on the drive shaft nuts, torque them in. Spin. Right, so that's the diff all bolted back in, everything torqued. Got to fill it up with oil, and then we will move on to gearbox service. We've ran the car up to temperature. We're also doing an oil change, oil and filter change on it as well, following from the previous health check, just to know it's got good oil and a good filter in it, just to kind of give it a clean bill of health. So we'll drain the engine oil whilst we're doing the gearbox service. We're also going to change the power steering fluid and filter. As you can see, the fluid's a little bit dirty and low, so we'll just suck that out, put a new filter in it and a bit of fresh fluid. It's just a good while you're in there. So we're going to drain, measure what fluid comes out. That's it. Get in there. There we go. So just draining the engine oil at the same time. Get two jobs done at once, and yeah, engine oil definitely needs changing. So it's always a good thing when you get a new car. It's always worth your while probably having a small service carried out, whether it's due a service or not. That way you know it's got good oil, a good filter, and you've had a health check done as well. Don't reset the service light, and then when your service is due, you're getting the oil flushed out again, and you're just giving it a little clean and a little flush really. So just servicing the gearbox, and all the rubber for this electrical plug's deteriorated. So what we'll do is we'll re-wrap that in Tessa tape, which is like a cloth tape. Just a bit of a while you're in there. We'll unplug that, pull it down, make it look nice and neat. Ah! No! Oh no! Got gearbox fluid all over me. All the fluid's drained. We've got a good 5.5, maybe 6 litres out there. Quick one to note, once you've took your filter off, is to make sure your gaskets aren't stuck to the gearbox end, which these are, because you can fit your new one on top of them and you're going to have a fluid pressure issue. So always make sure they come off. Right, so that's all the engine oil drained out, gearbox fluid drained out. I've just took the filter out. It has got a Hengst filter previously fitted in it, so that's a good sign. Hengst is a good brand, probably who makes the Merc one, to be honest. The reason I say it's a good sign is wherever it's been serviced aren't putting cheap filters in it. So that's good news. And this car takes 1040s, good old 1040s. So we've got a Mobil 1040s oil there. Old school. Right, that's the oil and filter done, gearbox service done. I'm just going to run through the gears now, check fluid levels, and then that is another job done. So just running the gearbox up to temperature. We've got a thermal imaging camera, because obviously there's no diagnostics on this to get a temperature reading. This is a TOPDON thermal imaging camera, really good tool. Like I say, we can't get a temperature reading off the diagnostics for this, so we're doing it manually. We're currently at 24 degrees, which the first reading's at 30. So once that's at 30 degrees, we can go back up to our dipstick and see where we're at. So we've got the engine oil level corrected, gearbox fluid level corrected. We're just getting on with the brake fluid change, and then we can start with some welding. But as you can see, there's a patch there that needs doing. There's a patch there. We're going to have to remove the side skirt to gain access to that properly. Same on the other side. While that's bleeding, take you on the other side.
Spot on it.
Oh yeah, it's in there where my finger's going through. So again, I've got to take both side skirts off, and there's a couple on the floor pan that will do, and that's it really. So we're making good progress, and we've not really had any problems so far with this job, which is nice. Actually got to be careful here because there is a little bit of corrosion on the wing. Last thing we want to do is pull that off when it takes a load of paint with it. Yeah, so the wings, we know it needs wings anyway. All 124s needs wings. They usually go along this front edge here, and obviously behind this panel where it stores all the moisture, but we won't touch that, and at least can take the skirt off properly. I kind of committed to that when I just said I'm not taking it off.
Yeah, you already knew you were going to.
Sportline badge. Oh yeah, look.
Do you reckon that will go through?
So this is why it's very difficult to quote for welding. Nathan's blinding me with the camera torch. This is why it's very difficult to quote, because you don't know what you're going to uncover. So just taking the skirt off, we've exposed this bit of sill. So we're going to have to now take this arch cover off and have a look at that. And we've not even started grinding yet. Right, so we have cut the hole out. What started off as a smallish hole has turned into a reasonably sized hole. This is what we've chopped out. I've chopped this out, as you can see, for that's just going to go through and create a bigger hole, and that is that. In fact, I'll put it back in place. So that was there, and that was there. You can hopefully see why I've cut that out. So this is why it's very difficult quoting for welding. You just don't know what you're in for. You don't know how big the hole's going to be. You've got to pull a side skirt off, you've got to pull trims off, there could be more corrosion. So it's very, very difficult to estimate. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the whole car, grinding and cutting out all my sections, and then we can just spend a few hours making our pieces and then just weld the whole thing in one go, rather than cutting out, welding, cutting out, welding. One of the boys, probably Nathan, can start making up pieces. We'll measure the thickness of this steel and match it and get trimming. You know, while we're in there, I'm going to clean up the jacking points, give them a bit of treatment. If anyone's got an older car that needs some welding and you go to a mechanic or a fabrication place or whatever, they'll always give you quite a large estimate because we've got to cover ourselves. So yeah, we need to start making up some pieces. Massive pile of rust and rubbish on the floor. I've been blowing everything off with the airline. It's amazing how much moisture these rusty patches hold in when you're just blowing all the water out of the airline as well. So what am I doing?
Sorry about that one.
Holes.
Well,
Talking about all the holes in this car. Right, we've finished off grinding and cutting out as much of the rust as we can. Obviously we have exposed more welding than what we've quoted for. The sill of the car was quite badly corroded. Now I've cleaned it up as much as I can and it's still solid. So I'm just going to treat that, reseal it and undercoat it. It's rock hard. I'm pretty happy with it. That's the test, solid. Nathan started making patches for the holes I've cut out. So as you can see here, there's a small hole in there. That's the section we've cut out. So he's going to make that piece and then we'll weld that straight back in. I've took it right back so where you can see all the clean metal, we know we've got good metal. This section here is quite common for corroding. The sealant's all flaking off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind that sealant off and apply new. It's a bit of a while you're in there. We have exposed an additional hole here. That's where the rubber bung goes, but that's elongated a bit. So we're going to make a little section for that. Jacking points, another weak spot on 124s. These are actually in really good condition, but what I have done is I've got the grinder out and cleaned them all up. As you can see, I've just put the belt sander around that to neaten it up. I'm going to reseal that section there, just to neaten it up, try and future-proof it a bit, give it a little bit of protection. Take you round to the other side. Again, this side sill was the same when we took the wing off. It was a bit of a oh my god moment. Again, I've cleaned it up best I can. It is solid. This section is wing. I really don't want to touch that because then we're going into bodywork. Treat that best we can, seal it back up, put the covers back on. Should this car ever have wings, which it will do at some point in its life, you can then reassess the sill. But there's no holes in the sill. It doesn't need welding, put it that way. Take you on to more sections. Again, happy with the condition of the jacking point. I've just ground it up, got to put some treatment in there. This section, again, Nathan's started making pieces up for me. You know, that's going to go in there. Another piece which will go under here, and then we can remake that section. So pretty happy with progress so far. Another piece here. Luckily, that's a nice square piece that goes on, it's spot welded onto that. We're going to put some of this rust treatment on the bare metal. What this does is it turns rust. It's supposed to kill the rust. The truth is, nothing kills rust. You'll never get rid of it. It's a problem that we're going to have with all cars. It is what it is. So basically, this stuff, you paint it on the rusted areas, it turns the rust into a black colour, and then once it's dry you can apply more sealants and treatment over the top. So I'm just going to go around the car with this, let that dry, start welding my patches in place, and just do what we can.
One eternity later.
Glad that didn't peel any paint off. Right, this is many, many days later. Literally a week later. Welding is finally complete. We've undersealed all the car with a LanoGuard protection spray. So we've covered all the subframe, ground down all our welds, sealed everything with like a seam sealer, covered it in Schultz so it all looks factory. So if you have a look in the wheel arch, you can see that it doesn't really look like anyone's been there now. If you go all the way around, there's another patch at the back there. That's now gone. So all the subframe's been coated LanoGuard, which looks pretty good. Sills, I think I explained, we put some stuff on the sills to eat away at the corrosion. I am pretty happy with the sills. The wings have been repaired before. 124s are really common for this area to corrode. Take you underneath, show you what else we've been up to. Covered all the wishbones, all the front springs in the LanoGuard. Done all the brake pipes all the way down. There's a patch there that we've welded in. Again, sealed and Schultzed. So the Schultz is good because it gives the same very similar texture to the factory body seal, so it doesn't, there's nothing worse when you see a patch that's been welded in and it's obvious it's been welded in. Let's make it look as best we can. You know, this isn't really what I do. I don't really do jobs like this, so this is the best I can do. Chop the old exhaust shield off, got rid, little freebie there. Rebuilt all this area. That actually got really bad and we ended up welding right underneath under the sill. So that small hole turned into a massive hole. I'm quite pleased with the results considering it's not really my forte, this. We found another hole which was in here. You can probably tell that I've actually welded that. The reason being, I didn't grind my welds down there. It was probably the best bit of welding I did on the job. This sill has been treated and painted with some hammerite protection. So next thing to do is get the wheel arch covers in, get all the side skirts back on. So I've got loads of little picky things to do, but I think it'll make the video too long. So probably call it a day after all that's back together, and we'll decide what we're gonna do next. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Right, everybody. First road test in the, oh, heater's on full blast. First road test in the E220 Sportline. I'm actually quite looking forward to this because I do like a 124. Oh, it's a chilly morning. Let's get the heater on. On. Heated seats. Heated seats in me 30-year-old 124. Lovely. These seats are so comfortable in this car. The leather on it is just so soft, proper leather. None of this new modern, what do they call it, like Artex or something. It's not proper leather, it's like plastic leather. Good old positive indicator click. And we're off. This has been quite a journey, this 124. I tell you what, they do drive nice, these. Even though it's a 4-cylinder, small engine, it just works, it just drives well. So, been quite a journey, this car, as I was explaining. Obviously quite a lot of service work, bit of suspension work, rear differential leaking. Took the diff out for a reseal. Obviously we give the diff a good clean out while we're in there, fresh oil. And then last but not least, obviously the welding. The welding takes quite a long time. There's a lot of grinding, cutting, making plates to fit. It goes on and on and on. So I bet you're all wondering, how much has this cost? Considering the customer's only just bought the car, how much has he had to spend on it straight away? A lady's running for the bus. I feel like I've done a good deed there. She was on the wrong side of the road, waving the bus down. No one was stopping for her, so I stopped in the middle of the road, held up all the traffic so she could catch a bus. What was I saying? So the total bill for this car is £3,400, give or take a few quid. I think the proper price is like 3,386 or something along them lines, but either way we'll round it up to a nice figure of 3,400. Now that sounds a lot, doesn't it? Especially when you've only just bought a car. But we have done a lot of work. The welding itself has come to about £1,000. I think there was a total of 9 hours labour. I quoted 9 hours. To be honest, I've spent a lot more than that. But I've kept it at the 9. I've kept it at the 9 hours for the customer. The reason being is very long-term customer. Left it with us, no mither, not holding me to anything. These big jobs, we do try and help people out. The rear diff, that's probably a £500–600 job on its own. And the rest of it is just everything else we've done. It quickly adds up. So it'll be interesting to know what you think about that kind of bill for everything we've done. We have done quite a lot of extras as well that the customer has added on. The majority of it was off camera. One of the extras the customer wanted was the headlamp switch wasn't illuminating. There's a couple of bulbs behind there. There's one for the hazard illumination, when you put your hazard illumination, fog lamp illumination, and there's one for the surround. We've replaced both them bulbs. A lot of people put the wrong bulbs in them. They put like a 1 watt bulb in, and it's too bright, and because it's too bright it makes the handle too hot. You can actually melt the button or even burn your finger. It's a very specific Mercedes bulb, very specific bulb and part number. I'll hopefully leave the details in the bottom of the screen for that. I've actually learnt something actually. He's asked us to replace the roof bow hinge bolts. And I thought, oh, that's unusual. So he supplied the bolts. quite expensive bolts actually. I think they're about £60 each. I had a look online where he bought them from. They're no longer available from Mercedes, and apparently they're really, really common for snapping. I've never heard of that before, so that's a new one for me. However, upon inspecting the bolts, they were actually loose, and maybe the metal wears out, I don't know, but apparently it's a bit of a must do if you've got one of these. So learned something new there. I can tell you now as well, that steering damper makes the world of difference. It just really firms the steering up, and it's something that's very easily missed. So if you have an old Merc with a steering box and a steering damper, get your mechanic to just whip that bolt out and have a feel of it. It'll transform your steering. It just makes it so much more precise. Lovely. Anyway, overall, I'm really happy with how this has come out. Customer's going to use this as his daily driver, which I think is really good. Not only has he bought his dream car, he's going to enjoy it. So many people buy dream cars and they don't drive them. This car's in really good condition. Customer has done an amazing job of cleaning it up, to be honest. The interior looks absolutely spot on. Seats have come up good. The carpets look like brand new. He's polished the car. Paintwork looks good. He's put a treatment on the convertible top. Also, the air conditioning didn't work. He asked us to have a look at that. We left it on a nitrogen test overnight, and believe it or not, it had no pressure in the system whatsoever. It held its nitrogen all night. It didn't drop at all. So he's got away with an aircon regas, and the aircon is working spot on. Sat in a little bit of traffic now, so it's probably a good time to promote our merchandise. As always, I've got the work hoodie on. What you're buying off the website is what we wear at work. This is tried and tested workwear, this. We've had loads of positive comments and emails of people saying they were surprised at the quality of the hoodie. So if you haven't got one already, make sure you visit our website and get your merchandise bought. We are going to try and up our game a bit in the new year. Try and get a video a week out, which is very ambitious because I am so busy. But we're getting great responses from it. The channel is growing month on month. So if you haven't subscribed already, make sure you click that subscribe button. Overall, I'm extremely happy with the results of this car. Hopefully the customer is as well. So yeah, I think that concludes this video. Hope you enjoyed. I hope you're liking the customer buys videos. This is our second one. Last one was on a 129 SL. I'll leave a link for that below. Hope everyone has a great week, and we will see you on the next video.